we had some interesting transfers announced. So we've picked out a few that we're going to talk about. First of all, we've had Lucy Benezet to Lotto Destiny. So a rider that predominantly racing on the British circuit, stepping up to a continental, well, a team on the continent. But she had a very good year on the National Series, didn't she? Obviously, she did a lot of races abroad, but she did quite well on the National Series.
Yeah, the one that stands out for me was Guildford. Like she was in the front three at Guildford, racing, I mean, as a junior, up against Ailey Shaw and Alex Morris. So you've got a rider that's about to step up into a World Tour development team, and Alex Morris who's already on a World Tour team, and then you've got a junior fighting it out against them. So the talent was clear. You know, she's. It's not a surprise to see her stepping up to Lotto, but it is good. Like, it's really good to see riders of her caliber stepping through from the British scene to European and World Tour dev teams. Like, that's exactly the pathway we want to see, people being able to go from the British scene to the main European teams, rather than having to leave the British scene and then step up.
Yeah, I mean, some would potentially say that Lotto Ladies scouted her because of her top 10 at the World Champs and her Irish national road race, but I think it's definitely the third place of the Guildford crit.
I'm not saying it's the third place at Guildford, but I think it's that there are teams in the UK that are giving you those opportunities to race here and race abroad and get a World Tour or a Pro Tour contract. Like, you don't have to leave the British teams. They are affording you these opportunities, which often people forget. You know, they feel like, oh, there's no pathway in the British scene. I just want to get through it as soon as possible. But actually, as we've seen, you know, you mentioned Lucy here and a few others, you know, that you can stay on a British team and step up.
I think that pathway is a lot more positive on the women's side at the moment. I think you see a lot more riders that come through with a much more even distributed calendar before stepping up into the continent onto a professional setup, which is good. I think that can only be positive, really, as long as that pathway and that ladder does actually exist. I think as much riders should. I think it's just a symptom of a positive, healthy setup that you've got riders using the British races to go pro, which is a lot of talk on the men's side, because I don't think that really exists on the men's side. Which is a nice segue into Cycling Sheffield, who we've spoken about a bit before. Really, really good team up in, where is it? Sheffield, I think.
Oh, I don't know. Somewhere like that.
But they've had 4 riders move to 4 really good separate French divisional teams. So there's 3 divisions in France. I can't remember. It changes slightly every year, but when I was over there was 3 divisions, DN1, DN2, DN3. All 3 are good teams. They kind of move around those divisions a little bit. There's like a promotional and relegation system there. But if you're in a divisional team, you're doing well. Like they're decent teams, and you'll get plenty of good opportunities. But yeah, they announced they had 4 riders move over there, which is a pretty incredible rate of progression for those riders. We had David Hurd, James Hartley, the team Bricklebeck, which was a local team to me when I was racing out in Brittany. They were a really good setup back then, had probably one of the best riders in the region. I've forgotten his name. I should probably kind of follow what he's up to. But Jack Hartley over to France as well, and Max Krasinski. So 4 young riders. Hopefully we'll have opportunities to show off. Talking about that pathway through the UK as an amateur kind of young rider, ideally that would exist for these riders, and these riders would step up to maybe a British Conti team, focus on the National Series, do some other races, some other UCI races in the UK, supplemented with a continental calendar, and then step up to, I don't know, the Pro Conti and the World Tour teams. But that doesn't exist right now.
Yeah,
unfortunately.
I think the issue is that the quality of rider is there, and we see that when you have like the Cycle Classic, when you have the larger UCI races here, and you do get people come across, like British riders win those, and they go abroad, like Lucy, you know, in the World Championships, like Kat Ferguson, you know, on the women's side, the quality of rider is there. But the issue is that they're not getting spotted by European teams. So they certainly on the men's side, it's I know that kind of stands in contrast to what I was just saying about Lucy, but certainly on the men's side, they struggle more to get spotted over there. And to see the Cycling Sheffield guys going over is brilliant. It means that they've been able to prove their worth. And I think that the European teams do know the quality of these races. They know that if you're winning or getting top fives in our national series, you are going to be a good rider. You can hold your own in the European races and maybe step up. Because I can't remember, one of the Yates brothers went through the British academy team, which we'll get onto, but the other one went through a French team. So they know that there are riders who are capable, that their pick, bring them through their system, and then they can go on and win Grand Tours maybe. They know that that's a capability. So is it that we see less of the riders going straight from a British Conti team to a World Tour team? Is that because the World Tour teams and the Pro Tour teams are kind of sleeping on the British scene and they're not paying any attention?
Yeah, I think there's definitely some untapped talent that isn't seen. But you just look at the kind of the Brits that are maybe not dominating anymore, but there's still a massive amount of Brits that are farmed through the Pro Conti and World Tour teams every year, despite not having a good setup in the UK, basically, for talent. Development, talent production, yes, but talent development, no.
Yeah. I think that's a really big issue, and as I said, we'll touch on it later with the academy team. But the men's side has had this for a while now, this sort of tailing off of a pathway to become like a top professional cyclist. But hopefully, riders like Cycling Sheffield riders will kind of help to change that perception. Maybe people will start looking here to pluck directly from our national scene.
Yeah, I think obviously, hopefully, we have to believe it's getting better. I'm not just going to believe it's going to stay crap for 50 years, but I think definitely for the next 5-10 years, it's going to be this way where you have to find at least opportunities abroad to kind of show off your talent. So hopefully those 4 guys do well with those opportunities given to them, learn a bit of French, and we'll see them ripping up the Tour de France. And
Did you learn much French?
No, or no. No. I mean, I have excuses. I mean, there's no real excuse other than I wasn't very good at learning French. But it was during lockdown, so I wasn't really talking to anyone.
I'll let you off.
Yeah, if you do a lot better than I did in France, and you'll do well. On to the women. So we'll know Alba development team, basically the Scottish Conti women's team, from ripping up both national series this year with Ailey Shaw. They've lost Ailey Shaw. Maybe not lost, but she's, as the team is designed, she stepped up to the next step with the UAE development team. So hopefully again she'll have some opportunities there on a professional setup. But they have a raft. Is that the right word? A raft of signings. Signed a lot of riders.
Yes, they have.
They've given a contract extension to a lot of riders, and then they've signed from the now deceased Life Plus Wahoo, Maddie Leach and Eleanor King. 2 great signings. I'm sure they'll get plenty of opportunities in the UK and abroad. Mary Porton from the junior Tafauti, I think. Tafauti team, and Amy Gornall from Finish Line Race Team this year. And probably the biggest of all, world champion Neah Evans. Yeah,
makes perfect sense because she's Scottish. I would suggest that they are going to be the team to take it to everyone else next year. They are to take those 2 Life Plus Wahoo riders. Maddie Leach is a former under-23 national champion, time trial champion. So she's a big engine, really strong rider. Eleanor King won races like the Cycle Classic. That she's quality. And then you cap that off with riders like Neah Evans, who is like a world champion on the track. That firepower in that team is insane. And people like Kira Bond, who have already won national circuit series races, they're clearly stepping up. And I wonder what their long-term goal is when you look at the strength of that team. I think the women's scene maybe could do with a British team stepping up to be like just above them, maybe a women's World Tour team or a pro team, so that you've got this pathway. The riders don't have to then go off to Lotto Destiny. They can stay here and go, it's cool, I'm going to ride for Alba.
Yeah, exactly. Agreed. But yeah, really, really positive from them. You said that they're going to be the team to bring it to everyone else. I think that it's not really on them to bring it to anyone. I think the other teams need to bring it to them. Like, they've dominated.
Yeah. Ailey Shaw, of course. Yeah.
But it wasn't just down to Ailey Shaw. Like you said, with Kira Bond winning a circuit series, they had other riders popping up on the podium in the top 10 that are staying there for next year. So I don't think it's going to be kind of like a flash in the pan. I think that'd be fine.